evening. This is much more my speed. I was just teasing them. We had a chance to eat dinner together, and I was teasing some of your pastoral team, and I was like, listen, when I spoke at Pursuit, I had to look up words before I came to make sure I was saying the right things in the right way. I don't have any of those stressors tonight. I feel like we're going to get along just fine. I feel like all the words I'm going to say, you're going to understand, and vice versa. Like, we don't have to skibbity riz anybody tonight, okay? Like, it's going to be so great. But yes, this is my sweet little family, and I just have to tell you, this is really funny. Today is my 14th wedding anniversary. I know. And I left him at home. I was like, bye. And so for his anniversary, he got the 3 kids at home. And he gets to take them to Royal Rangers and feed them dinner and do all the things that I normally do. So I was like, you're welcome. And so it's great for me. But I get to come and hang out with you. So this is great. And don't worry, we'll figure it out. We'll celebrate at some point. So tonight is romancing your spouse, right? So do as I say, not as I do, because obviously leaving him is probably not the best thing. But we are loving life with our 3 boys. Jackson is in 5th grade. I went to a parent meeting for 5th grade graduation. Not emotionally prepared for that meeting at all. I was like, this is not happening. But yes, it is. In 55 days, he will decide he'll go on to middle school. And then our buddy in the glasses, that's Camden. And I think I may have been able to, in speaking here before, just kind of give you a glimpse into his story, which is he was diagnosed with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. And God has done miracle after miracle after miracle in his life. And it's just been incredible to be his mom and watch all of that happen. And then our little guy, Bryson, he's in kindergarten this year. And gosh, he gets whatever he wants. So that's just is what it is. Hannah, his eyes are about this big and they're like bright blue. So annoying. Anyways, so I'm guessing like everybody in the room is married to someone. Possibly the person you're sitting beside, maybe not, just depending on the ride how you came here. It just depends, right? Like how the car ride went. But good. So nobody engaged. Perfect. Okay, this makes it so much easier. Yay. And no singles, right? Okay, because I don't want to be rude. I want to like prepare you. So like orgasm, libido, sex, all of those things are going to happen within our conversation. So I just don't want it to be like, if there was like someone who hasn't gotten to that point yet, that could be a little thrilling. So right? Oh gosh, did I say that? What I meant to say was we're going to talk about it. Listen, what you do after this is totally up to you. Guys, I'm literally setting you up here. So just take that home run. Yeah, know what you're saying. Golly. I am preparing for these 2 weeks. I read a number of books, but one that stuck out to me the most is called The Great Sex Rescue. It's by Sheila Wray Gregory. Watched a lot of YouTube videos from different pastors that I love, watched or heard many different podcasts. I am formulating a resource list for you. Okay, so my plan is to bring that to you next week, which means you have to come again. But we'll also have it available digitally for you guys too, so that they can disperse via email or whatever works best. But I'll have that resource list for you. You can write it down tonight, but I wanted to have a way for you to be able to connect with the pieces of information that I've been able to connect with, because they are very, very valuable. Okay, I do want to just take the moment too and clarify, I am not a licensed marriage counselor, and I don't have any plans of becoming one. However, I know some incredible counselors, and I know your pastoral staff team here. So if there was ever a need for anything that arises from these sessions or after, or you need a chance to talk to somebody, I highly encourage you to do so. If you don't feel comfortable coming to your pastors, I get it. My dad is my pastor, so absolutely not. Like, you will not catch me in the office for my marriage 1 second of the day. Okay, I will be calling somebody else. anybody else, really. So there's that. But connect and let somebody know that you need a resource, you need a way to connect, okay? And so that, I just want to put that out there as a disclaimer. So I really want us to make sure that we're all on the same page. So here at Berlin, over there in Chrisfield, everybody, we want to be on the same page when it comes to the definition of marriage, right? Because unfortunately, our culture, society these days has its own definitions, has its own way of saying what they think it should be. So let's clarify, right? Let's set a firm foundation for ourselves as we discover, okay? So marriage, and you do have this on your worksheet, is a lifelong, exclusive covenant between a man and a woman that is created by God. So there is lifelong, exclusive, a covenant between a man and a woman, and that it's created by God. And this is the goal, okay? When God created the covenant of marriage, this is what he wanted, right? So that day in the Garden of Eden, when the first marriage ceremony takes place, the idea is one man, one woman, exclusivity, right, for a lifetime. That was the definition. That is God's ultimate goal for marriage. What am I doing that? Okay. It is. I can. I shouldn't have worn this fancy shirt. This is what happens when you try to be cute. You wouldn't know. Oh my gosh. All right, let's try. We'll see. I'll try that. We'll try. Okay. I moved too much. It's fine. Okay. So, first marriage ceremony, Genesis, right? Adam's looking for a partner. I don't know if you've ever read the Bible like I read it. That has to be the most awkward day for him. Do you know who his selections are? Giraffe, elephant, rhinoceros. Like, this is who he's supposed to be mating with. The Lord's like, I just made all of these things. Can't you just choose from one of these, you know? And so animal after animal after animal is coming, and there is obviously no partner that is going to fit Adam's need, okay? So what does God do? We know God causes him to fall into a deep sleep, and then he creates Adam from woman's rib. And once Adam wakes up, right, he's real pleased with this, right? He's like, finally. As a matter of fact, we read in Genesis 2:23 through 24, "At last," the man exclaimed, "this one is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman because she was taken from man." This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united with one. The two are united into one. Like, ooh, yes, here comes the good part. Two are united. We know what that means, right? Come on. Nobody? No, like, let's go. Like, come on, you guys. We just established we're all married in the room. Thank you for the woohoo. That's right, right? And all you guys just sit here act like you didn't like tell your wife on the way here, like, hey, girl, afterwards, we gonna get it on. And she was like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to finish my makeup in the car on the way because I had to feed all of your kids and do all the laundry and had 7,000 million things to do before we left. No. Leave me alone. Don't even look at me, right? But at least you're sitting beside each other. I'll give you that. That's good. You did good. But listen, in Genesis 2, I love this piece because I've heard this done at wedding ceremonies before. And actually, Tyler and I had it at ours. It says that the woman was not taken from the man's head to rule over him and dominate, nor was she taken from the man's foot to be trampled upon, but she was taken right from his rib, his side, so that she would be equal with him. And I love that analogy, that way that we can see how God created an equal partnership when he created humanity, right? Male and female. So I just love that beautiful phrasing. And it's an equal joining, not just of our flesh, but of our souls. right? And we cling to, a lot of us know, Matthew 19:6. I know you've heard it, right? Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. You've heard this over and over and over, right? And so for me, what I see is Jesus saying to New Testament believers, let's take it a step further, right? He references the Genesis marriage. He references that first initial moment. But then he goes further to say, let no one split this which has come together, right? Now listen, this sidebar, okay? Let's all come together in this moment. I know that there are many, many caveats to this, and I do not want to disqualify anyone from what we're talking about tonight, okay? I know that that there is divorce, that there is a lot of things that have happened probably in your marriage, maybe happening now, has happened, will happen, okay? But I wanted to give us a biblical perspective so that we can all know the original intentionality of what God made this covenant for, right? So that we can build on that foundation. Also, especially after speaking at events like Pursuit and being a part of different conferences, it has become highly evident to me that this next generation that is coming up, they are watching us. They are watching you interact with your spouse. What you say, what you do, how you respond. All of those things are being watched and processed and perceived, right? Not just by your peers, because we all know y'all be judging that person next to you hard, right? But also by the next generation, because they want to know what's going on. They want to know what's next. They've seen, heard, listened to all about sex, all about what all that is, right? But we have an opportunity to be able to teach them God's intentionality about it as well. Okay, so the reasoning behind getting everybody on the same page is not to disqualify anyone, but to help us understand and build on top. Yes? Okay, and nobody's offended. Don't tell me if you are. It's okay. It's okay. Offense is the bait of Satan. Okay, so also, like in the Bible, I find it very interesting that, even Solomon did not follow the Lord's true calling for marriage, right? He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I mean, what the world? Even David had multiple wives. So we see this over and over again where God's design is distorted or the definition gets lost throughout the ages. So my core in me is to bring truth back where it belongs, which is here in the church with believers and disciples of Christ who can take that truth out into the world. Yes? Okay, so that's why we're doing this. So, where were we at? Yes, to become one, sex, perfect. Okay, so we are going to first define sex. What does sex mean? Okay, so if I asked you, did you have sex last night? Would you think to yourself, did somebody answer? This was not an answering. This was rhetorical. This was rhetorical, sir. I like it. It was like, yes, hallelujah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Comic relief. Okay, if I asked you that question, rhetorical question, would you think to yourself, did the man penetrate his wife until he climaxed or orgasmed, right? That could be a definition that we would find out in culture, society, actually a lot within the church walls as well, okay? Now, if sex is only about a man moving around until he climaxes, and then her experience and pleasure are more of an afterthought, a bonus, for sure, right? But not necessary, that definition only makes sex physical, okay? Are you with me? This is not what the Bible is talking about when he is talking about the two becoming one. If we pinned this definition, I need you to hear me, okay? If we pin this definition to God's word, then we would mean that God only cares about how often men are climaxing. Is that what we think sex really is. Because each of us were created for so much more than just one-sided pleasure. So what I have found in my research is that great sex is, this is on your worksheet, fulfillment of a longing for intimacy. Intimacy. It's for connection. It is to be completely and utterly bare in front of each other, more than just being naked, right? It's a bearing of our soul, and great sex is bringing intense pleasure to both of you. Both of you. You see, one-sided sex is just intercourse. That's all it is. When you add passion and pleasure, that's when you come into that sex, or some of us even can call it making love, right? Because it's such a beautiful moment that can happen between that husband and wife. In a book, The Great Sex Rescue by Sheila Wray Gregory, she says that sex should be personal. It's a chance to enter each other's very being to truly become one. She said it is a knowing of each other that leads to deep intimacy. She said sex should be pleasurable. It was designed to feel good, really good for both people. Sex should be pure. Both partners can expect the other to take responsibility to keep themselves free of sexual sin. Sex should be prioritized. Both partners in the relationship desire sex, even if at different levels, and both partners understand that sex is a vital part of a healthy marriage. Sex should be pressure-free. Sex is a gift freely given. It's not about getting what you want through manipulation, coercion, or threat. Sex should put the other first. It's about considering your spouse's wants and needs before you consider your own. And sex should be passionate. Sex was designed to allow us to enter into a state of joyful abandon, to completely surrender ourselves to the other in ecstasy of trust and love. I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I was like, I'll sign up for that any day, right? Not like the, hey, you wanna? No, I don't wanna. I want this. I want the personal, pleasurable, pure, prioritized, pressure-free, put the other first, passionate, let's get it on, baby sex, okay? Shouldn't we all? Yeah, but we can have that. The problem is that we have to make it about the other person. And so sex is not just about me. This is one of my favorite phrases. I put this on your worksheet too, because it just really has changed my perspective. I love this thought. Sex is not just about me. It's about knowing you, your spouse, and building us. Wow. Sex is not just about me. It's about me knowing you and building us. Unfortunately, the evangelical church has done a horrible job of preparing us, okay, in this personal, pleasurable, pure, prioritized, pressure-free, putting others first, passionate sex life. We really have not done a great job. And so you don't have to raise your hand, okay? But just think back, honestly. This question is posed to you on your worksheet. If you'd like to circle and answer, that's fine. But the options are there for you. Which message have you heard more often in church studies or Christian books? Do not deprive your husband, or women's sexual pleasure matters. I wonder. I know which one I've heard. I know which one my life was built upon as a pastor's kid, being drugged to church every single day of the week for whatever was going on, okay? Y'all are so quiet. Over in Crisfield, they're having a great time. They're like, woo, let's go. Over here, it's so quiet. Okay, it's okay. It's deep. I hope you're okay. All right. You may not know this, but when it comes to the female body, we actually have our own sex organ. See, guys always been thinking that they're just out there on their own and that y'all have all the need, but it's not true. So we have the clitoris, okay? And it was created with as many nerve endings as the penis. And to me, that was mind-blowing information, because I am now starting to wonder why we're putting men's sexual pleasure over top of women's, or that tends to be the culture, that tends to be the conversation, that tends to be the drive in the evangelical church. When God, when he created us out from man, said they need an organ that gives them just as much pleasure as the man does, right? So for me, it's like, wait a second. We literally have an organ in our body, and guess what? It doesn't pee. You guys have to do double duty with your sex organ. Ours is just for pleasure. That's it. Like, that's all. And I'm like, why are we not taking advantage of this? Like, hello, right? Girls, I'm here for you. Where you at, ladies? Come on, hallelujah. Like, woo, Jesus. Okay, but listen, I never heard that information from sweet sister Nancy, right? Like, she never told me that in my middle school, junior high group, or in my young marrieds group, or in any group that I was in, okay? Like, no leader, church leader, Christian mentor, no literature, no conference, nothing that I went to from age whatever to probably around 30, let's see, I'm going to think I was probably about 32 years old, until we went to a Weekend to Remember. Have y'all heard of that? The Weekend to Remember? It's fabulous. It's such an amazing time together. And Tyler and I went for one of the first times they showed a video about intimacy. And the doctor came on, he was on a screen, okay? And there were some people that went to our church sitting behind us. I almost died. My face was, it was so red. That color, this color right here. This doctor comes on the screen and he talks about the pleasure that the woman should be experiencing and how the clitoris blooms and all of these things. And my husband and I are like, what? Okay. And we're trying to take all this, because nobody thought to tell us when we got married in 2011, right? We went through all that marriage counseling. We did not do that part with my parents. We went to a whole nother pastor. I'm serious. I was like, I will not. You can teach me about finances. You can teach me about respect. You can teach me about roles in the marriage. You will not talk to me about that. So, but nobody, even the other set of pastors who are dear friends of ours and mentors to us, did not tell us about this piece, okay? And how when that woman can blossom, that is what brings so much pleasure, and that is where we find the orgasm. So here's what happened. We've grown up in church to think that sex is a one-sided venture, and that if we, as women, don't give husbands sex whenever they want, then we're somehow bad, right? And even go as far to say that it would be a sin. Have you heard that teaching? It's okay, I have. It's okay, I can't be the only one in the room that has heard that or has felt that way, yes? But I'm here for you guys. Like, I really am, because listen, too often I feel like you are written off as unemotional. You're just sex-crazed men with minds and bodies that all you think about is sex, and all you need is sex all the time, and it'll never be enough, no matter what the wife does. But I don't believe that about you at all. I believe that it is a need of yours, but I believe that it can be fulfilled, and it can be sustained, and that there is a beautiful thing that can happen when two become one. Okay? I think that when we teach these styles of learning, that if the woman doesn't give and if she doesn't have sex and all of these things, then what ends up happening is there's just a lot of people around in our churches who are just having one-sided intercourse. Right? Because they're so confused and afraid, and they do it out of fear, really, that their partner will find it elsewhere, be cruel to them, stop loving them, whatever the excuse is. They're so nervous that something bad will happen, right? And I just want to know, like, is this truly what we want sex to be? Is this truly what we think it is? Is this truly what we think God intended it to be? Surely not. Surely not. So, there's a part, okay, it's on your worksheet. It's called rescue and reframe, okay? Rescue and reframe. So I pulled these ideas out of the Great Sex Rescue book, but what I would like for you to do, if you can, is a small group of women and a small group of guys, if you can just maybe huddle with 1 or 2 men, 1 or 2 women that are around you, I would like for you to just take a minute and go over, there's three phrases for this one, but it's prompted as instead of saying this, say that. And I'd just like for you to kind of interact with each other about these things for, let's give you 3 minutes. So I know there's somebody in the audience that's like, excuse me, 1 Corinthians 7. Okay, I know, Karen, just calm down, okay? We're getting there. Okay, 1 Corinthians 7, 2 through 4. Let's do that first. Then we'll go to verses 5 and 6, okay? So 1 Corinthians 7, 2 through 4. But because there is so much sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do you like how I had them like highlight, underline, make it a different color? I honestly, I don't like really understand where we're getting a lot of our information from, because I just wonder if we stopped framing it as church leaders, focusing on women, why they have to do it, or else, right? If they taught men that they should be, hold on, I want to make sure this is on. Yes? Okay, it just felt, it's not on. Hello? I want to make sure Christabel can hear me. Okay, yes, better? Good, yes? Okay, all right. Our mantra has been, do it or else, okay? So whether it's, in order to have a healthy marriage, you must have regular sex is the goal. That's what we've heard, okay? But I just wonder if we also had a moment where we taught men how they should be generous, selfless lovers, alongside of teaching women how to be a really good and loving partner and spouse, and having both self-sacrificing coming together, right? Like, that is what I'm wondering. If we have let sex become a marriage thermometer, and we've decided that the amount of sex that we're having is equal to the amount of intimacy that we can have. And it could not be farther from the truth, right? Does that make sense? We have decided that if we are having a lot of sex, that means our intimacy is really good. And that if we're not able to do it a lot, then our intimacy must be really low. But that is not true. That is not true at all, okay? And then I know all the guys are like, you're avoiding verse 5. No, I'm not, right? I get it. Y'all like, that says that a wife needs to give her husband sex whenever he needs it. Like, you better read the Bible and you better read it loud, right? So let's read it. Let's take a look. Let's look together, okay? Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time, so you can give yourselves over more completely to prayer. Please, I dare you to do that. I dare you to give up sex and go to the Lord in prayer. Do it. I dare you. You won't. You will not. I want to know what you're praying about, because I want to come alongside of you. If you giving that up, it must be something serious. Yes? Hallelujah. I will pray with you. Right? But I mean, if it's that big, like, I'm like, Lord, he's being really serious right now, right? Afterward, you should come together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I say this as a concession, not as a command. So y'all just gonna skip verse 6, like that don't exist? It says a concession, not a command. Let's talk about this, right? What does it mean to deprive? What is it that we're being asked not to deprive our spouse of. That's what we need to know. Saying do not deprive is not the equivalent of saying do not refuse. These two things are not equal. When we say do not deprive, we are saying that someone has a need that needs to be fulfilled. But this is not the same thing as saying a person gets to have whatever they want. We messed it up a little bit. We have a real opportunity to learn something here. Think about it this way. God made us with a need for food. Yes? Right? Like, look, all of us in this room look real healthy, okay? Like, y'all are doing good. So, all of us have a need for food. If you are one of my sons, you ask me daily for Cheetos. Daily. Like, every day, every 2 hours, Mommy, can I have a snack? Okay, what do you want? Cheetos. I mean, I should take out stock. Like, it's ridiculous, okay? Now, if I refuse to give my child Cheetos because dinner is in an hour, am I depriving him of food? He has a want. I did not give it to him. Therefore, I'm depriving him of all food? No. This child's need is for a healthy, balanced diet. You can eat your peas and then you can have your Cheetos, okay? Not to eat anything he wants at any time he wants, right? Likewise, that is how God has created the sexual need inside of us. Not for whenever we want or however we want. It is for a healthy, mutual, fulfilling sex life. And sometimes it means saying no for a variety of reasons. I mean, you know them. You experience them. So do we. Medically, there's emotional, physical, all of the spiritual sometimes, right? Because y'all probably fasting right now. I mean, who knows? There's just some things that happen that don't allow the time for you to be able to come together. But too often we are taking verses out of context of what they mean and applying them to situations. It's not just about the marriage bed. We do it a lot. But we really need to understand what the Bible is saying to us so that we can make sure that we're building healthy relationships. Y'all okay? All right. I wish I could see Chrisfield. You guys are okay. I see. Yes, perfect. Okay, they're good. God did not say, do not deprive in order to allow selfishness to blossom. I think we really got to consider when God is saying these words, Jesus is saying these words, do we honestly believe that he would allow selfishness to bloom or require that from either side? Can you imagine any other area of life where God tells a person, you have the right to use someone else for your own gratification, even if it causes physical or emotional pain? Any other area? Can you think of any? Because I cannot. Where the Lord would put us in that type of position. We would actually, if we believe that, we would actually be telling women that God is saying, it pleases me when your husband acts selfishly toward you. Lord, help us. That cannot be, right? We do not want that to be. They're like, please stop talking. We need to do that rescue and reframe. Okay, let's do that. There's another rescue and reframe. It's on page 2, okay? It is right in the middle. It's right after the God did not say do not deprive in order to allow selfishness to blossom. All right, so get in your little groups again, okay? You have 3 minutes. I want you to talk about, there's 4 sayings this time, okay? Now, You're like, I don't know, I'm gonna pray about what you said about 1 Corinthians, but you can't be saying nothing about Ephesians 5 because that says what? Wives, submit to your husbands. You're right, it does. You're exactly right. You wanna know something crazier? Why we always gotta start at verse 22 every time? That's what literally people are like, Ephesians 5:22. I'm like, read Ephesians 5:21. I'm telling you, context is so key, okay? Ephesians 5:21. And further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Like, we are missing a truth. Like, Big C Church, all believers, the standard is just like be kind, be self-sacrificing, be a servant of all to everyone. But we just want to skip that and be like, no, like wives submit, and that's all there is to it. No, we're supposed to be doing this with everybody. Everybody, we're supposed to be having a relationship, not a sexual relationship, okay? We're supposed to be having a friendship, a kindness, a self-sacrificing nature about us. Because why? Because Christ died for us. So we should be able to show that same type of love and compassion to others. We should be able to lay our priorities down, our needs, our things. We should be able to lay them down. And then when we're able to do that with one another, that's why the next couple of verses talks about husband and wives. He said, so do it out in the world and then definitely do it in your home. Okay? Christ is about laying down our rights. It's about laying down our desires and giving our life to him. So this is a lot coming from me tonight, and I knew that it would be. So I found a clip that I want to show you. This is Pastor Robert Madu. He's a lead pastor at Dallas Social out in Texas, okay? And I want him to help us understand what we've talked about so far, but help us kind of frame the final piece of our lesson tonight. He says it so well, I can't say it any better, so I figure I'll just let him do all the talking, okay? It is about 6 minutes long, but stick with it. It is worth the watch, okay? So, go team.
Number 2, you gotta check this. We got the gate check. Marriage is a covenant, not a contract. Marriage is a covenant, not a contract. If you approach marriage like it is a contract, I'm telling you, it is a setup for it to fail. Marriage is not a contract. It is a covenant. You don't see contracts in the Bible. You see covenant in the Bible. Marriage is not a contract. It is a covenant. Some people walk into marriage thinking it's a contract, but here's the problem. A contract, hear me, is based on mutual distrust. That's what a contract is based on, mutual distrust. It says, I'll hold up my end as long as you hold up your end. That's why you have contracts. The reason you have contracts is because you say, all right now, you promised to fix this roof, and I'm going to pay this money. If you don't fix my roof, I ain't paying you no money. We live in a contractual world, and this seeps into your psyche, and you'll start approaching relationships as contracts. You did this for me, I'm gonna do this for you. You hold up your end of the deal, I'll hold up my end of the deal. But marriage is not a contract, it is a covenant. And a covenant is completely antithetical and opposite to a contract. Hear me, a covenant is based on mutual love and trust. It says, I give myself fully to you no matter what. If you approach marriage like a contract, your relationship is built on conditions. But if you approach it as a covenant, your relationship is built on commitment. A contract is based on law, while a covenant is based on love. A contract says, if you do your part, then I'll do mine. A covenant says, I'm committed to you no matter what. A contract is conditional. It's built on self-interest. If one person doesn't hold up their end of the deal, the other person is free to walk away. But a covenant is unconditional. It is built on self-sacrifice and lasting commitment. A contract focuses on protecting personal rights, but a covenant focuses on serving the other person. In a contract, if your needs aren't being met, you can legally end the agreement. In a covenant, even when it's hard, even when you're not getting your needs met, even when everything that was smooth is now wrinkled, even when everything that was upstairs has now moved downstairs, even when there's somebody cuter at work, even when you are tired, here it is, you remain faithful because the relationship is bigger than your momentary feelings. A contract ends when obligations are broken. A covenant lasts when one person falls short because it's not based on perfection, but on commitment. And there are so many people who have entered into marriage on a contract basis. You owe me this. This is my right. Whenever you have this, you owe me, it's a debt-debtor relationship. And when you have a debt-debtor relationship, what kind of atmosphere is that for love? You owe me this. Just know what I signed up for. I signed up for sex every night. I did not sign up for once every 4 weeks. Never mind, y'all got 5 kids. And both of y'all work full-time jobs. There's no what I signed up for. My needs are not being met. You know how many people I know who have convinced themselves that it's okay to have a relationship with somebody else because they have said, my needs are not being met? You know what kind of, I call that rational lies. Rational, you get it tomorrow, lies. I deserve this because my needs are not being met. It's a debt-debtor relationship, and that is not covenant. Covenant, watch this, is not for the moment at the altar. Anybody can do it then. Covenant speaks to the future. It's when I don't feel like it. It's in sickness and in health. It's for richer and for poor. It doesn't demand rights and say, I deserve. It says, I serve, even when my rights and my so-called privileges are not being felt. And I know some of y'all are looking at me at a crazy tone of voice because this is completely opposite of the culture that we live in, because everything is about me, my needs. That's not what I said. I did not sign up for an apartment. I signed up for a house with a white picket fence. And we don't know what it's like to stick it out. And covenant will call you back to it long when the feelings are gone. And you know why we don't understand it with other people? It's because we don't understand it with God. We have a contract mentality with God. You know why so many of us are on the hamster wheel of religion is because you innately think, whether you verbalize it or not, that if you miss a quiet time or if you don't pray enough, that God is going to walk away from you. That if you don't worship enough or if you don't come to church enough, there's something on the inside of you say, he's going to walk away. He's going to leave me. I got to keep him happy. And God says, that's not how I loved you. I loved you with an everlasting love. I loved you when you could offer absolutely nothing to me. I died for you. I loved you to make you lovely. What can you offer to a holy and perfect God? Absolutely nothing but the life that he purchased on a cross for you. You have nothing to give him.
He's really good, isn't he? I could listen to him all day. He said, I serve, not I deserve. Gosh, he had so many great moments. I actually took each moment that he said and listed out for your resource page that we'll be getting to you guys. It says what a contract is versus what a covenant says. Okay, so you'll have those to be able to compare and contrast. And I just thought it was just such a great way, because I felt that I have felt that way before. You know, and definitely in our younger years when we were first married, and just because of the different foundations of teaching that we have come up through. And so I just thought, man, there is so much more to this. You know, you're supposed to be talking about romancing your spouse. What the world is this? I don't think we can romance our spouse if we don't even like each other. Are y'all okay? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't even want to be in the same room, if you don't even really like them, or if we have these crazy ideas of what marriage is supposed to look like, and then it's not looking like that, and so we're just left with all of these unmet needs and unmet expectations, right? Man, that is a contractual feeling, isn't it? Versus this covenant that we are supposed to be having, the two becoming one. So I truly believe, I think he really wants us to be having great sex. He created it. So let's go back to Ephesians 5. Let's go back to that part. We'll start now at verse 22, okay? But with the lens of marriage covenant, not marriage contract, okay? So for wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. That has a heavy weight. We just breeze on by like you didn't say what you just said. It's true. Like, we got to stop, ladies, and we got to recognize that we are to submit, right, as our husbands, as we do to the Lord. We give the Lord priority, right? We have a love relationship for the Lord. That's what this is saying. For a husband is the head of his wife as Christ is the head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. As the church submits to Christ, so you wives should submit to your husbands in everything. This is the building block to a beautiful relationship that continues into verse 25. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to present her to himself as a glorious church without a spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. Have you heard this? No, because we stop at verse 22. I'm telling you. This is some beautiful word that God wants us to really know. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it. We talked about that just a minute ago, did we not? Just as Christ cares for the church. Verse 31, there it is again. We're in Ephesians, and they're still going back to that Genesis. A man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Verse 33, so again I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. I've heard this scripture taught so many ways, and I really just kind of took it for what it was. The translation that I have always used is this, that the man must love his wife and that the wife must respect her husband. And for some reason, somewhere along the lines, we have attached this to that men are unemotional and that you don't need love, but you just need respect. And that women don't need respect. We're such emotional creatures that we just need love. I don't see that, because the problem is that we read the Bible in English. But the true Bible is written in a different language, right? This is Greek, literally Greek to us, okay? So if we go back to the foundations of what we're talking about, that word respect is seen so many times throughout the Bible and the New Testament. And in 1 Peter 2:17, it says, respect everyone and love the family of believers. Fear God and respect the king. Once again, calling us to the purpose that is beyond who we are as husband and wife, but who we are in relationship to Christ. So then I have to pose the question, what does this look like? If this is suffering, if this is angst, if this isn't right, if there's dread, if there's pain, if there's suffering, if something's going on here, I have to wonder, and I have to pose the question, how's it going here? Does that make sense? Because, man, I believe that we have a real opportunity, a mutual opportunity to bring each other so much pleasure and so much love and make it more than just intercourse. Okay? You got to another rescue and refrain. Look at you. You're doing so good. I'm so proud of you. All right. So you have literally 2 minutes because we are hustling on time, okay? So let's do really quick, 2 minutes, and we're going to go over the 4 that you see there. It's going to be at the bottom of that page 2, okay? So here's where I think romance has a little bit of like, I don't know. I don't think it really works. Okay? And you're like, you're crazy. I know. We could have established that first and foremost. But the reasoning behind that phrase is because libido is not the same for everybody. And so I feel like romance can play a role, but we have to understand our spouse in order to be able to romance them correctly, okay? So let's talk about this just a little bit. We have decided that libido is the same for everyone, and by that I mean men have it and women don't. It's kind of like the general, persuasion of that. So here's another one of those sweet little rules from Sister Nancy, right? Have you heard that phrase, men are like microwaves and women are like slow cookers? Yes? Yeah? Okay. That's a trend, not a rule. Okay? That may be true for you. And that may happen in your relationship. But this overreaching general rule that has, can you do me a favor? Can you take your pen or pencil or highlighter, whatever you have, can you just mark through that on your paper? Just cross it out. Okay, because what I don't want, actually, with anything, Pastor and I were just saying that, with anything that we say tonight, none of this is covenant law, okay? This is all things to spark you for conversation, possibly tonight, throughout the week. Come back next week so that we can spark again and we can add some balance, okay, to the other side. Because obviously it's very heavy tonight on persuasion and adding that mutuality in, okay? None of this is covenant law, but what I need you to understand are there are rules that we have decided as an evangelical church that are just not true. And then what's happening is, as women, if we feel like we are different than that, then there's shame and guilt that is put on us because we don't feel that way, and there must be something wrong with us because we don't line up with the culture and with the things that they're saying. Not true. This is a trend, not a rule. Okay? You marked it out, right? Mark it out. Okay, so when we talk about romance, okay, we're in the form of libido. This is what I'm saying to you, okay? In a book that I read, it says most people define it as there's some panting, that evolves into kissing, which evolves into clothes, which goes into the bed, okay? So standard libido, pant, kiss, close, bed, okay? This, though, does that make sense, what I'm saying? Like, just think back to your teenage days, okay? Like, you know what I'm talking about when some of y'all were at the drive-in theater, weren't you? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You were in the back seat. You need to get up front. So this does not account, though, if we just say, like, libido is this, and if you don't go in this order, then you must not have libido, okay? The problem is there's 2 types. I'm about to help some of y'all out. This is going to be great for you, okay? Responsive libido versus spontaneous libido, okay? Responsive is once they begin making love, the arousal kicks in. Now, women are highly subject to this type, okay? This is a lot of women. This is not every woman. You hear me, right? You hear what I'm saying. But this is a lot of women have this type where you're like wanting it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But then you start kissing on my neck, and then you start, messing with my arm and all this stuff. And then, eventually I get there, okay? Like, it's great. That is responsive, okay, to my husband not letting up. He's like, girl, it's happening. Get ready, okay? But spontaneous gets attributed to men only, but I don't believe that. I believe that there are some women or more than men. I don't know. I'm just saying there's two different types, okay? And we can't limit one gender to the other. There's two types, there's two genders, but they don't match like that, okay? So spontaneous is some people have a felt need for sex, okay? That leaves them feeling physically frustrated if they don't have sex, okay? So if libido is simply the ability to desire and enjoy sex, then just because you're not aroused first doesn't mean you don't have a libido, okay? It just means that yours may work differently than your spouse's. So it doesn't have to be that specific order, as long as both of you end up panting at some point, okay? And let me be honest with you. For some of you, it may look like kiss, close, bed, pant, okay? And for some of you, it may look like close, bed, kiss, pant. It doesn't matter how, as long as somebody somewhere is panting in that formula, we are doing the work, okay? It is happening, okay? Listen, y'all, it's okay. You got to talk back to me a little bit. Nobody's helping me, not even the women. They're like, yeah, that's right, girl, because he's trying to be kissing me. I'm not ready for that yet. No? Let me call Tyler. Babe, we got problems. Okay, so we just really have to be aware of our spouse's need, right? And it's once we can clearly communicate and understand, like, oh, just because she's not in the mood doesn't mean she doesn't want it. It means I may have to work a little harder to romance her and understand why she doesn't want it. Oh, because she did 16 loads of laundry and worked full time and then came home and fed your crazy kids who then told her they didn't like it. You know, like, no, and or whatever your life situation is, you know, you travel for work or you don't see each other every day or whatever that looks like. Okay, I don't want to disqualify anything, but this is why it's so important to know your spouse, okay? There are some exercises that they have developed, and so I'll include those, where they just take time, honestly, to lay with each other naked in the bed and just be. Like, no intentionality of any sex, orgasm, nothing. But to figure out libido and what makes your spouse tick, and to just really be adventurous and to make that space and that time a priority. And to get to know your spouse again on the level that you should know them, okay? That is a place where the two are becoming one. So understand the best way to go about that. So there's just some things like that, and I'll include all of that on your resource list, okay? We're going to get there. Couples have different life situations, different libidos, different levels of emotional connection. All of that should be factored in to what your sex life should look like, okay? So life situations, they have different libidos, different levels of emotional connection, and all of that should be factored in to what your sex life, nobody else's, yours, okay? Don't be bringing anybody else into this. They have found that couples who can figure this out, this libido piece, they are mutually satisfied during sex, and they treat each other well outside of the bedroom too. That's a win-win. That is the goal. The lower drive spouse doesn't feel that more sex is an inconvenience because caring for your spouse is not seen as a hassle. Likewise, the higher driven spouse doesn't feel resentment when practicing self-control because it's a way to serve and honor the other. That's a different way to see it. Let me read that again. Maybe you didn't hear me. The lower drive spouse doesn't feel that more sex is an inconvenience because caring for your spouse is not seen as a hassle. And likewise, the higher driven spouse doesn't feel resentment when practicing self-control because it's a way to serve and honor the other. Wow. So maybe we've just been focused on the wrong thing. Perhaps frequency has been used as the main measure of sexual satisfaction because it's easier to tell couples to have more sex than it is to help her reach orgasm or solve underlying marital problems or deal with the stresses of life. Just keep having sex. You can't stop having sex. Keep having sex. But are we working on the partnership, the I serve, not I deserve piece of our marriages? There is one more, there's one more rescuing and reframing that I would really love for you guys in this last 2 minutes that we have together. Let's do that really quick. And then next week, I promise I have a couple minutes left of that, but I will finish that next week, and we'll start there with the 72-hour rule. But you guys do that last rescuing and reframing there on page 3. So all of that to say, find your rhythm, okay? That's probably the best way to sum up the whole night, is to find your rhythm, what works for your marriage. Tyler and I have a marriage agreement. It looks very different from anybody else's. As a matter of fact, we tell each other that a lot. If we see a couple disagreeing in a way that we wouldn't disagree, or they're arguing in a way that we wouldn't, we say, that must be their marriage agreement. It must work for them to embarrass the other one in public. That would never work for us, or whatever that looks like, right? So it's not like a contract, y'all. It's just an agreement that we have. We're not going to disrespect the other in public. We're not going to blah, 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 blah. You don't need to know my marriage contract. My marriage contract, okay? My marriage agreement. You need your marriage agreement. You need to know what works for you and your spouse, your rhythm, your connection, your mutuality.